We are live. We can start.
Hello, everyone. So welcome to our panel. So this panel, we will focus on discussing smart cities. So today we invite the three very business leaders in this subject. So they are very active in business with smart cities. Myself, my name is Xiong. I'm a professor of business analytics in University of Surrey. I'm also the university's associate dean international. So basically help the university for international collaboration. For Surrey University, I'm not sure if you heard of it. Actually, it's very good for smart cities. We rank #1 in artificial intelligence, in facial recognition, voice recognition. We also rank #1 in 5G across the EU. Yeah, so basically, this is all relevant to smart cities technologies. So of course, we are also ranked very top in satellites. The satellite system in Europe and also in other countries, they use Surrey satellite. So today we also have three very leading experts, as I already said. So first one is Dr. William Wu. So he's the CEO of One4City. Then we also have Mr. Joao Bocas. So he's a global speaker about wearable technology. So and we also have Peter Chun. So he's president of the World Smart Cities Forum. It's a non-profit organization based in London. So I think all our four speakers based in UK. Anyway, so now I will ask each of our panel members to introduce. I have 2 minutes each to introduce themselves. Maybe start from William. William, you are muted.
Thank you, Professor. Yes, okay. Could you hear me now? Thank you, Professor Xiong. Really, it's an honor for me to join you and the prestigious guests, Joao and Peter, to have this online session to really have a discussion around the smart city as a hot topic, but also actually as a quite a sustainable topic, which is important for lots of the technologists and also wide stakeholders, including governors, businesses, and even academics. So my background is I used to be an academic. So I was a postdoc and PhD from Imperial College. I really look at the business model innovation and the informatics for the smart cities and also eco cities. I am the founder and also the CEO for One4Cities, which is actually a one-stop solution shop for smart city development all over the world, especially with a focus on the UK market and Chinese market. And we have helped with the Chinese developers to plan and also implement a smart city development in their local regions. And we've also been lucky enough to win the top 5 smart town development in 2019. And I was also involved in the best top IoT city demonstrator in the UK as well, dated back to 2018, which is a Manchester-focused smart city project as well. So a lot to share with you guys, and I look forward to the session. Thank you.
Sorry, I muted myself. So may I ask maybe Joao to be the second speaker to introduce yourself. Yeah.
Well, good afternoon, gentlemen, and Professor Yu. Thank you so much for that introduction and lead the panel. I'm delighted to be here. Thank you, William, for your introduction, and nice to meet you, Peter. So a bit about myself. I'm Portuguese, a global citizen living in UK for nearly 20 years. I'm heavily involved in emerging technologies. I'm a global keynote speaker and also a technology entrepreneur and influencer. But my particular focus, I'm heavily involved in wearable technologies. My primary industry, I would say, is healthcare, where I'm heavily involved in wearable technology, innovation, healthcare, digital transformation, and also IoT from sensing and innovation perspective. I'm delighted to be here, and thank you so much for the invite, and I'm looking forward to the discussions this afternoon.
Thank you, Xiong. Then Peter.
Hi, nice to meet you all. It's my honor to be here today. Actually, I'm based in London, but in the last 7 months, I've been in New York City. I got cut in here because of COVID-19. So I'm actually running the companies here in New York City as well. Now, currently, I'm president of World Smart Cities Forum, which is a nonprofit organization based in London. And I founded Archive Labs here in New York, which is a smart city curator and investment company. Besides, I founded also the and have run Accent3, a tech accelerator in Level 39 in London, which is the largest open tech cluster in Europe, which is located in Canary Wharf Financial District in London. In the past 7 years, Level 39 has been the cradle for more than 300 successful tech startups, and more than 10 startups have become unicorns. In the late 1990s and early 2000s, I became interested in technology innovation through tech companies. I accounted when I worked on investment banking in Wall Street in New York. In particular, as I participated in Cognicity projects, which was the first smart city challenge programs in Canary Wharf. I established my own concept of smart city based on innovation. And through this projects, I have expanded my career with global smart city projects. Besides, and back in 2018, I was appointed master planner, head of South Korea's smart city national projects, and to create a master plan framework. And from 2019 until now, I've been engaging myself in establishing the master plan for small cities in Ukraine and Vietnam. And currently, Vietnam is the most important project myself now. Okay, thank you, and looking forward to sharing our insights together.
Okay, thank you everyone for your introduction. So I would like to ask the panel one question, start from question 1. So, which is, what's your view about how the smart cities, so smart cities are a concept and together with some technologies framework. So how do you think as objectives, how smart cities could change our lives? So who want to answer as the first speaker to answer this?
Maybe I can maybe speak first. Can I?
Yeah, please.
So a lot of governments, in Asia, which is talking about Asia, for example, Asian smart city is top-down framework. Mostly like government initiated their projects upfront, and they just, inject their policies into it. For example, like China's 300 smart city projects since 2015, I guess. And another cases in India, 100 smart cities. Is including South Korea as well. Mostly the Asian smart city initiatives is something like kind of one-way and vertical framework, and which is actually, I doubt that the big success out of it. But mostly the smart city concept is not only the technologies embedded in the city, but also we have to think about how to make the people feel much more satisfied or maximize their happiness. In a way, we have to think about the many different directions into the city. So I brought the concept into the city with a people-centric small city, with people-centric cities to be much more sustainable or resilient to deal with the problems that every city has encountered by now. I think, in my personal opinion, in the future, cities likely to evolve in a form where housing and jobs are shared. We have already witnessed this kind of fact during the COVID-19 pandemic. In addition, as the data accumulated in the city is shared with citizens and businesses and governments, and databases services are generalized much more, thereby laying the foundation of maximizing personal convenience. Actually, building sensors and capturing data are necessary in a small city. How to make a balance between the data collection and privacy. Basically, this is a really hot topic worldwide. Although smart city is to make life convenient and efficient by using the collected data, the Personal Information Protection Act, like GDPR, for example, is blocking it, making it controversial in many countries, and here in Europe and the United States, including probably maybe in Asia as well. Maybe we can ask ourselves, what is more important, creating smarter and safer cities or keeping personal data safe? I think that after all, the question is whether the process of collecting the data and using those data is really fair or transparent. The issue becomes one of the education and transparency, I believe. As small cities, people or residents or citizens in the small cities, and they know what data is being collected and how it's being monitored and how it's being used and to whom it's being sold and what will be done with it in the future. We already experienced this whole things. I think probably maybe some of you might already told that the USA government is now actually considering the applying the Google or Apple as kind of the monopoly law or something. So they are really afraid of the monopolizing the data from the cities or the people. Anyway, another concern is that the residents have the option to opt out of some elements of data collections, and if they are being de-identified. All of these questions will need to be answered clearly to soften privacy concerns for small cities. Therefore, the category small cities does not usually cover the entire city from the beginning. It is to build a small city tested in some parts of the city and enact special laws on small cities. This small city special law makes it possible to share personal information so that the benefits that an individual in the city can receive when sharing personal information are specified. So I think the data collection and data usage will be the future lives of all the residents or the people, citizens can experience.
Okay, thank you very much. So any other views from the panel?
Yeah, I like that, Peter. I mean, so many challenges, also the benefits, but also some of the challenges with the processes and governing laws and everything. But what I would like to talk about, and is actually correlated to my expertise, is global health. If we talk about health, our cities have a deep impact on our quality of life and towards our health. So what I would like to see in the vision of the future is our cities, becoming smarter, but also enabling these technologies that I believe we're going to address and talk here to make our lives more active and healthier in the future. And we can talk about sensors, we can talk about other things. So health is actually extremely, extremely important in terms of environment, but creating an environment when people feel safe, feel more protected, and also feel that they want to be, want to live there. But just a note, where and how we live counts towards 2/3 of the health outcomes of an individual. So that tells you that is extremely, extremely important for our health. So I could talk about other things, security, safety, some of the challenges, Peter, you already mentioned there, even resilience, governments. We could talk about education, affordability, mobility is actually a world in itself. But linking the conversation to health is extremely important because, for example, in London a few years ago, the mayor of London created cycle lanes to make the population more active and work towards tackling obesity and other things and pollution. And, you know, so the agendas that could be addressed through smart cities are actually extremely, extremely important. And they could all be linked in one way or another. Of course, technology will play a major role in there. And yeah, I'm able to talk about some of the technologies and the wearables and the sensors and the things, but I think we're going to go into that in a deeper conversation further down the discussion. So I'll let someone else now give their perspective. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. William? Hello, is William here?
I think it's connected.
So I think he's disconnected. Okay, come back. Hello, William, can you hear us? If not, maybe we can go to the second question. And William, so now so you are unmuted now. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yes.
Yeah. So
yes.
So yeah, what's your view about how? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. So I really want to echo with the two panelists just now. So on the first hand, we really need to have a balance between the digital privacy and also the digitalization ambition in the smart city initiatives. On the second hand is we also need to look at the human-centered approach. So really, what are the actual smart city use cases that is, you know, based on where the human requirement looks like. So we normally, when we look at the smart city initiatives, sometimes we look at into multiple verticals. So we looked at smart transport, we look at smart government, we looked at the smart energy, and we also sometimes look at smart environment. But we also sometimes just look at, okay, so if we have got a designated area for smart city or smart town development, what sort of the future do we want to create for the inhabitants living right here? So, and then we start to look at, you know, what sort of technologies need to incorporate it to support that kind of initiatives. And I think that's kind of very different types of approaches when we talk about smart city development. Sometimes it's quite a top-down approach. So as Peter mentioned, you know, it could be starting from the government initiative, also could come from the local private enterprises such as the developers. They started with, you know, I want to develop a land which is slightly different from my business as usual real estate development kind of type of activities, but actually I want to incorporate smart technologies into my development land. I want to incorporate the smart technologies into the future citizens' lives in my land, and that could be one of the approaches for smart city development. Whereas on the flip side, we start to look at smart healthcare, we look at the smart energy and smart environment, really focusing on particular verticals, which also human-centered in their mind, but they actually have very sector-focused. So I think they are kind of very different.
Well, I think the connection from William is not very good, right?
Yeah.
I think we lose a signal again. Yeah. Then maybe, oops, skill there.
I start to realize what smart city is about. Sorry, did I?
Yeah, you lose the bit. Yeah.
Could you hear me?
Yeah. Yes.
I was in and out. Yeah, I also sort of hear you guys in and out as well. But sorry. So what I want to highlight is this is an evolving concept. Apparently, smart city development itself is an evolving activity. It's not a single, in the smart city goal in the next 5 years or 10 years. It's nothing like that. It's always, talking about the version 1.0, 2.0, 3.0, and 4.0, and that sort of reflects it as an ongoing activities, which is constantly under fine-tuning and constantly under evolution in our city. So for the purpose of the discussion today, we can particularly focus on some particular topic if we are interested in digital privacy, or we can have some particular focuses to discuss a little more in depth. Happy to do that.
Okay, so that's good. So I have a different perspective from 3 different experts in smart cities about their view about how the smart cities can change our life. Yeah. So the second question I would like to discuss with you to see, well, so many projects, and every project that they have will help bring value to the society a little bit. So there are hundreds or thousands of, or even more than that, of smart city related projects. But which one would be the most promising you think will bring the most impact, most importance to the smart city?
Well, can I go first?
Yes, yeah, please.
So I believe that there are many different technologies that can be implemented or embedded in the city within the future city initiatives. Among them, I believe that you can actually draw the matrix. It's more than maybe 100 different fields, but because of the limited resources that a city has or municipality government has, they have to think about prioritize which one they have to just go first, because smart city initiatives cannot be the same. So smart city in London, smart city in New York, smart city in Hong Kong, or smart city in Mumbai cannot be the same. So they have to think about what kind of the problems they have to deal with first. They have to make a decision to bring their solutions in a way of IT technologies or other technologies and hardware, software, or maybe governance, and all different kind of the options they have to think about. But I think that probably let me just give you an example in the current project I have in Ukraine, in London, and also in Vietnam. Smart mobility, blockchain concept, and prop tech and water tech, smart city, or healthcare, smart finance with fintech or authentication. These are the kind of the possibly considered. Let's talk about mobility first, because the number one agenda for Hanoi Smart City, we are actually just dealing with right now, is the priority number 1 or number 2. Let me just give you some kind of background. There are studies that the traffic congestion cost the European Union, EU, more than 1% of gross domestic product, or maybe over, according to IBM, 100 billion euros in every year. And 20% of CO2 emissions are the byproduct in transportation. So these trends are inefficient and unsustainable. So moreover, they are also very expensive. They jeopardize the growth of the businesses and citizens, and constructing economies and wasting money. For example, New York is one of the most densely populated cities around the world. Population, buildings, and cars and occupied in a limited area. And during the pandemic, I have witnessed a lot of changing trends here, and commercial buildings, they losing their customers and clients, and lots of the commercial buildings, they actually have to suffer from the high vacancy ratio. The solution to this problem is to significantly increase the tax on owning a car, while making parking difficult and making it uncomfortable to commute to work. In other words, a few chronic traffic jams are selected so that only official and commercially licensed vehicles can enter and exit. Maybe all of you are actually living in London right now, so kind of the central London cases. Congestion charge, is it congestion charge zone or something, CCZ in central London. I think the UK can be one of the great cases, good examples that New York or other cities like metropolitan cities needs to benchmark. It operates between 7 a.m. to 7 or 10 p.m. And every day, like 7 days a week. If an unlicensed vehicle enters CCZ during this time, the penalty is more than 100 British pounds something. In the case of Manhattan, New York City here, a toll fee is applied to both the bridges and tunnels and entering Manhattan. A traffic congestion fee is also here. I think maybe will go into effect in New York City by 2021, which is next year. And they will charge vehicles traveling into or within the predetermined area in the Manhattan Central Business District. ERP in Singapore is another case. It was the first city in the world to implement urban carbon area or congestion pricing scheme or something. Besides the application on urban roads and currently limited to a few cities, and including Stockholm, Milan, and some city in Germany. So the government's better to make it uncomfortable to bring the people's own car into the city center, such as raising the fine for parking violations. Instead, it would be a way to provide various benefits to increase the utilizations of the public transportation facilities. Another problem is during pandemic, the people tend to avoid using the public transportation systems. That's another concerns we need to think about. Well, under the premise that the COVID-19 pandemic situation can last for a considerable period of time until vaccines and drugs really release, we do not know exactly when, but it's highly likely that the major transportation will be made in the metropolitan transportation system and its culture. So therefore, in case of the metropolitan cities around the world, they need to think more about building an electric-based shared car systems, smart city logistics systems, and a bicycle infrastructure for environmental, the issues and the cost efficiencies.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah. So, who wants to be the second to add to this topic? Let's discussing.
Yeah, I just want to echo with the EV initiatives. I mean, actually, I'm involved in one of the key concepts happening in the UK and London at the moment, so-called V2G, so vehicle to grid. One of the starting points is really, starting from the London Mayor wants to achieve the climate neutral, carbon neutral 2050. And apparently, we're looking at how you would be able to encourage the adoption of the electrical vehicles into the public transport and also private transport as well, in order to reduce the carbon emissions, but also potentially, enhance the future mobility as a service kind of the concept as well. So we could potentially see that the good efforts coming from the UK government trying to support these kind of initiatives. But meanwhile, we are also seeing a different perspective from the private sectors. So vehicle to grid as a concept itself is trying to, validate that there will be the bidirectional charging flows for the batteries and also electricities in between the national grid and also the electrical vehicles, so that the electrical vehicles will be able to discharge its batteries at the off-peak time. Discharge its batteries at the off-peak time at peak time and charge its batteries at the off-peak time, so as to enter additional revenues for this kind of the peak and off-peak differences. The initiative sounds very simple, but when it's actually in the implementation, you have to incorporate different ecosystem players into that mobility as a service as a concept. You have to consider distributed network officers, because their role in this kind of ecosystem is trying to balance the electricity power at different points of time, all the time actually. And whereas you also need to look at the infrastructure requirements to facilitate that kind of the future carbon neutral initiatives and also environmental change as well. So what I'm trying to highlight is, to some extent, sometimes the government really look at the social perspective, environmental perspective in terms of achieve the carbon emission neutral. Whereas on the economic side, private businesses also see the potential, revenue opportunities for this kind of the technology push. But on the flip side is we also need to disrupt the existing processes within the current transport system, such as the DNO services. They need to look at what sort of disruptions are you causing into my current national grid services, but also what sort of activities do we need to support you to do that? Because potentially we could also use your V2G services to balance our power in the electricity grid. So that actually it's a small transport initiative, but actually highlights the interactive collaborations between multiple stakeholders as the key point for this kind of smart city initiative success. So just really want to pick up what Peter mentioned as a following part is the multi-ecosystem player collaboration, and also to potentially integrate that with the technology push together to push the ultimate smart city and related initiative.
Yeah. Okay. So, Joao, your turn.
Yeah, sure. Well, Peter and William already highlighted some of the issues and also the potential there. I mean, if we talk about technology, is really a minefield. I mean, we could talk about IoT generically, the connectivity, I mean, 5G, sensors, even geospatial technology. But what I'd like to highlight in here is a project that I was involved in UK with IoT UK. I was a mentor there when they launched that pilot in Cambridge, for example, in UK. Is a highly dense population town, very nice for universities, lots of green spaces, but the traffic is horrendous. And the quality of life can be affected if, for example, you feel a lot of frustration if you take 40 minutes to do a mile and a half for 2 miles. So I was involved in a project with the sensors and beacons and picking up, for example, some of the dense traffic zones, the pollution, but also air temperature, and then talking about health again, which is my area of my mission and my area of concern, we can then say, actually, this is a very safe place with less pollution to take our kids to the park, or this, for example, is a region that is safe for people with COPD and even asthma. So then that gathering of intelligence is extremely important if we're talking about, for example, quality of air for certain health conditions. Collecting data now is becoming more and more easier with the sensors, with geolocation, with things that up in the air antennas that we can get a lot of data. One of the challenges is transforming that data into meaningful insights, because I think now we can start entering this era of having too much data. And I don't want to be controversial in here, but big data on its own, and I hear a lot of experts saying big data technology. Big data is not a technology. Big data is a capability of having a lot of data. I mean, the technology is actually applying several technologies to the data, predictive analytics, or IoT, and some artificial intelligence now, and other emerging technology. So, I mean, it's great to have William and Peter in here because they have a bigger and a deeper understanding in certain areas. I'm not on a process of building smart cities. I'm heavily involved in emerging technologies and health. So I'd like to see like some of these agendas evolving but converging around enabling people to have a better quality of life and actually building smart cities where people want to live. I'll go back to Cambridge because this project was actually highly significant, and also it was kind of groundbreaking because it was 3-4 years ago and nobody was doing anything like that. It was a bit of an experiment, a big IoT deployment, but it was great because then we start kind of correlate what is possible to do so, even linking it to public transport and other things. So yeah, the potential is enormous, but also, I mean, but also the challenges are also great. But I'd like to see where this will evolve in the next few years.
Yeah, I think we have discussed several perspectives about this. What is the most promising technology that in your mind? Actually, I also have some vision in my own mind. Okay, so I actually think I would very much looking forward for a technology that, of course, we already saw it. A very, very advanced VR technology enable us always work from home, right? So we're not Zoom is already good. We can work from home, but if we use that glass and then we can say everybody just sit beside me, I can talk easily with each other. And of course, with much better 5G connection, and we can always project ourselves using the VR project. Actually, I noticed that our university, Surrey University, already have this technology. It can project any audience to any sports game. You can find yourself standing in the middle of a live sports football game. Okay, so or project yourself to any place. I think I remember the movie called King's Arm. I forgot. That's a very famous movie about the agent, so spy. so you can wear this glass. You can see all your colleagues sitting in front of you. Okay, and in that way, so we don't need to go to different place, cities, countries for face-to-face meeting. Yeah, you can face them just in your home. Okay. So I think this can really save us a lot of time and also reduce the energy. And we maybe don't need the electronic vehicle, maybe. So we don't need to go anywhere. But anyways, it's just my own personal perspective. Yeah. But I just think all you said is very, very important. And so I just think if we can bring this opportunity into reality, now what we should do, what's the plan? Okay, so is there any way we can, or how you think we should help each other, work with each other, collaborate with each other as the next steps? Okay, so from your own perspective, how you think, okay, so we can collaborate. Yeah. So who want to be the first to answer?
So what was the question again? I'm sorry.
So what's the next stage? How we should collaborate to deliver? We have our visions. Okay, how we should deliver our visions by collaborating together. What you can contribute to this plan, and how us can work with you.
Okay. Can I go first again? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Let me share the maybe
how we should collaborate to move to the next step for. Yeah, you have your vision for the smart cities. How we should collaborate and deliver them, work together.
Can I show my material just quick?
Yes, sure.
The screen. Hold on a second. Do you see this? So actually, this is one of the part of my ongoing project with Hanoi, which is about $1 to $2 billion US. Actually, the South Korean National Smart City was actually $5 billion US now. The biggest mission with the Hanoi government and the central government in Vietnam, we are actually trying to the quantum jump from the today's Vietnam into the future Vietnam to produce the next engines of the Vietnamese economy. So I actually suggested to the government in terms of the infrastructure. So because you cannot see the entire smart city scheme, because maybe majority of the cases of smart city in every project is invisible, like a blockchain concept or cybersecurity sensors. It's not really just, you cannot see. But sometimes we needed some kind of platform that will be challenging, or something existed already, or maybe something kind of a new opportunities with the cities. So smart mobility, I already mentioned about it, and smart lives and safety and the smart energy, smart finance. This is actually it's not a long-term thing. It's actually a mid-term and long-term approach by the government or maybe industries. So this will be embedded there. I think the 8.5 million population in Hanoi, they actually have distinctive the feature if you actually happen to go to Hanoi. About 4 to 5 million motorbikes are running around the city. Most of them actually run by gas or diesel. Is a highly polluted. I mean, so air pollution is a really big challenge to the city. So my mission to Hanoi Smart City is actually 25% out of the whole entire number of motorbike systems into electricity version. Step by step, actually we're aiming at the 25% until 2025. So it's not about just changing the bike into the electricity, but will be also effect on other systems like platforms, like battery systems and EV charging stations and sensors, IoT devices, and 5G connected infrastructure. Everything is actually in there. And also the logistics, because the traffic jams is also another issues for the industries to spend a lot of money on it. So the Elon Musk's ideas on Hyperloop systems, we're not actually delivering the passengers to one city to another. We're trying to sending the freight in a shorter time to distribute all the parcels and the logistics and with the other different solutions anyway. So I'm not going to actually explain everything though. Innovation ecosystem in there is the most thing have to be happening in the city. So about 35% of the whole budget will directly go to the startups and tech companies. They can actually deliver their solutions and services and technologies in it. They can actually grow there, and they can actually just bring another ecosystem to have the direct change of the future model of the city. Because that's why the most important thing is about the people. What kind of people living in the city is the biggest concern that we are actually drawing the master plan of small city. And this is water tech. Digital city is very important there. It's all connected. Digital twin is another concept we are trying to bring in. So because we're not actually building the smart city at once, we are testing it. We're just collecting the data. We let all the stakeholders, and including citizens and academia and industries and government, they collaborate each other one side to test it, validate it in a given time. So digital twin is, I know a lot of the cities and the industry, they're actually doing it right now, including the Singapore and other companies. But we are trying to do it in Hanoi or other smart city projects as well. And design, I'm going to skip this part. R&D plug-in city is very important because mostly R&D expenditure is really high. Only a few percentage of the R&D cost will be actually finally come to an end with the commercializations. We're trying to maximize these actually successful cases out of this platform. And the regulation-free zone is very important as well, because we're talking about all the data thing and the cybersecurity and fintech, authentication. This is all challenges in the existing regulation systems in many countries now. So we are trying to deregulate this concept into the designated area of each city, including Hanoi as well. And data market is one concept that I'm actually building right now. And there's some examples of the future solutions, for example, like waste management systems, energy and transportation, and society security. That will be, you can see it from this material. I cannot explain it fully, but this is the thing. One smart city concept or project cannot be successful because this is very limited. So the collaboration to successful, bond, I think the kind of cross-validation approachness is very important. So one of the cases we already begun with the London City government, and probably made some Dutch governments here, and Vietnam together with other cities, be kind of multilateral or bilateral systems. And for example, every city they have the mutual or common ground in terms of the picking up the topics or themes. We're just putting together to maybe making up the bigger size of the projects, which actually generates a synergy effect to team up together between the cities or many different cities. So Living Lab Hub and network in a way of cross-validation, I think I'd like to suggest this way to be really successful. But most of all, these approachness is based on the PPP model. So PPP is the kind of key to make this project successful, I believe.
Okay. I think maybe give another two panelists an opportunity to answer this question. Okay, in your view, how you think you want involve more people? Involve us to support your work. Yeah. Yes, please.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you for that overview, Peter. I like to see the smart healthcare there because I'm in healthcare. Well, I obviously an open collaboration approach is necessary, bringing all the right stakeholders to the conversation, the innovators, the small startups, the governments, the private companies. I'll give you an example, not to be controversial, but in terms of mobility, if I cycle to work Monday to Friday, I only use my car Saturday and Sunday, I don't want to pay the same insurance a person cycles, a person drives 7 days a week. I think there is a conversation in here in terms of taking a risk, and also the business models of the future will radically change. I mentioned the insurers in here, they might be penalized, they might save money, for example, in health insurance claims, but they might be penalized in lose, for example, in car insurance or home insurance or whatever that is. I think there's an open conversation in here with the big stakeholders around new business models, which nobody knows at this stage what these business models look like. But I'll give you an example. In health insurance, now we're seeing like health and wellness behaviors being rewarded through wearables. If I show that I have a certain degree of physical activity every week, I get a discount on my health insurance, I get a reward, I get a voucher, I get a discount, I go to the cinema for free. I think in the future it would be good to bring a similar model to smart cities, where encourage people to have healthy behaviors, not contributing to the pollution. So along those lines, we can take examples, for example, from fintech and apply in health, and the other way around, health examples to apply in other industries. So definitely a cross-industry collaboration and model in there, where the experts come together and share what really works from different industries. And yeah, it's so much to talk about, because now I finished very quickly and let William talk. For example, now we can analyze data, we can have the user behavior about mobility, we can have visualization with VR and AR augmentation, we can actually do planning ahead before building a site and look what it will be looking like and apply these technologies into a smart city of the future. So it's so much in here to really consider. It's very exciting, but also we need a lot of different people to kind of get connect the dots, if you like.
Yeah, right.
Okay. So, William?
Yeah, I'm here. So, okay, so a great speak from both panelists really inspired me quite a bit. And also just want to extend a little bit more to both panelists' points. So I want to talk about a bit more from implementation point of view. So apparently, we talk about the smart cities on a high level, looking at different verticals, looking at the different types of use cases. Whereas when actually the implementer on the ground, when they are evaluate, the overall smart city scheme as well as the individual use cases on the ground, they start to look at the cost-benefit analysis. So as Professor Xiong, you are the best in the business analytics. Apparently, you know how important it is for the decision makers to understand the business models underpinning those smart city use cases before they can actually launch and also start constructing, developing those technologies into their future environments. So what I've observed from my personal experiences in the past is we were pretty good at looking at the planning, looking at what can be possible, but we also start to realize there are so many intersections and also barriers and obstacles facing different decision makers across different verticals. And that actually points to a key point is what sort of the actual benefits, in terms of the commercial benefits, but also as well as the wider benefits that you can bring in by implementing such a smart city initiative. And also over what time. And that actually brings some of the key aspects is when we have seen the developers on the ground is they are looking at the smart city initiatives over a decade. What am I going to do in the next 3 years time, next 5 years time, and next 10 years time? What sort of target do I have over that long-term period? And we have seen some great smart city initiatives, such as from Singapore. It's a very top-down approach, and a lot of the data collections enforced by the Singaporean government. Whereas we can also see a lot of ambitious plans, smart city plans, such as Sidewalk from Toronto, which was initiated by Alphabet, a Google company, kind of failed to implement its initiative. So that all brings to a lot of the rumors and also perspectives regarding would you be able to carry out a overall master plan for smart city over the next decade or even over the next couple of decades. So what I want to try to highlight is start from small, start with the good but also proper smart city initiatives, no matter whether it's transport, energy, or environment or healthcare. Understand the sector in depth and apply the technologies appropriately, doing the data integration or technology integration appropriately with the key relevant stakeholders and get the government support appropriately as well is the key for any small individual smart city initiatives which coherently will be formed together to form a bigger initiative. I've seen quite a lot of failures in the past, to be honest. I've also seen a lot of the reserves from smart city developers as well. Once they have seen the planning stuff, they start to question, what sort of the cost am I going to invest? What sort of the return can I get? And these are the key bits of the questions we have constantly facing all the time. And we start to see the new business models emerging from that, which also still, I can say that it is still at the early stage. It's not mature enough, not saturated enough. And technology-wise, a lot of technologies are ready, but they are not so ready for the social and economic level. They are more or less at the technology level itself. So as a full spectrum consideration from my perspective.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think we have a lot of information today, and of course we also got a lot of guidance from three experts. Because that I'm asked by the organizer that we need to finish at 3:25. So basically now we're about on time. So I hope we can keep in touch. And if you have any inquiries as audience, you can write an email to us. And also as a panelist, I hope we could keep in touch and we share our expertise, our opportunity together, and we help each other. Okay, to have build a very promising smart city future. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye bye.